When you're sober enough to look at this world without being lulled to sleep by pretty words, you start to see a very cold truth. Every society, from the dawn of history until now, runs on a chain of consumption. The only thing that changes is the disguise. The poor consume plants and animals to survive. The rich consume the time, trust, and labor of the poor to maintain their power. It's not a sin. It's a law of nature. The strong absorb the life force of the weak, the way the sky absorbs water vapor to keep the cycle of life going. The world of the weak is the place where morality is turned into something sacred. When a person loses the ability to change reality, they start inventing illusions to comfort themselves. Morality, righteousness, justice, these sacred-sounding words become a shield for their helplessness. The weak talk about morality not because they are good, but because they are afraid. There is no snowflake that is truly clean, no winner that is truly pure. There are only people strong enough to stand firm in the middle of blood and tears. The illusion of purity only lives inside those who are too scared to look directly into their own darkness. This world doesn't belong to those who only preach about what's right. It belongs to those who are clear-headed enough to lead and still hold on to some humanity inside. Morality cannot save the weak. Knowledge cannot kill the strong. Only the awake can keep real humanity alive in this game where everyone is eating and being eaten. Welcome to the Hidden Podcast, where the masks come off and the rules you were taught get questioned. Now, let's go deeper. Think about your everyday life for a second. A company calls you family while paying you just enough so you're always one emergency away from panic. A content creator talks about simple happiness while living off the envy and longing of the viewers. A politician promises to serve the people while feeding on their fear and division. On the surface, it all looks like fair exchange. Underneath, it's just a polite dinner where someone eats and someone gets eaten. No knives, no blood on the floor, only contracts, reputations, moral language, and well-ironed suits. Modern civilization smells less like blood and more like perfume, but the mechanism is the same. In the past, the strong took land, food, and bodies. Today, the strong take attention, time, and belief. A worker sells 8 hours a day to keep the lights on. A user scrolls 3 hours a night and calls it relaxing. An audience gives its emotions for free and calls it entertainment. Every click, every like, every minute is a tiny slice of your life that you're feeding into a machine you don't control. The scary part is this: most people don't even know they're on the menu. The weak tell themselves, I'm just living honestly. I'm not hurting anyone. But that's the most dangerous illusion. You can be nice and still be food. You can be kind and still be a resource for someone else's gain. The universe doesn't reward good intentions. It responds to energy, clarity, and action. That's why morality, when it's not backed by strength and awareness, turns into a blanket people pull over their heads when they're afraid of the dark. I'm poor but pure. I'm weak but righteous. It sounds noble, but often it's just a poetic way of saying, I've given up on fighting, so I'll pretend my limits are a virtue. When you cannot win with strength, you try to win in imagination. You say, at least I'm better than them on the inside. It feels warm for a moment, but it doesn't change your reality. There are usually two kinds of people who talk about morality the loudest. The first kind are the clever ones. They understand that the crowd needs something to believe in so they don't panic. So they build a tower called morality and tell everyone to worship it. Politics uses it to govern. Religion uses it to discipline. Media uses it to steer emotions. They set standards so strict that ordinary people constantly feel guilty and afraid of stepping out of line. Meanwhile, they themselves move above those standards whenever it serves their interests. When they tell you to be selfless, they're often clearing the road to harvest your time, your attention, your obedience. The second kind are the desperate weak. They talk about morality not because they are pure, but because they are scared of being hurt, left behind, or forced to confront the uglier parts of themselves. They hold morality like a shield, hoping the world will feel bad enough to spare them. They beg the world to be good, as if the world is listening. But the world doesn't run on wishes. It runs on force, structure, intelligence, and energy. In the middle of all that, real goodness, real virtue is quiet. The truly good rarely announce it. They understand that every choice has consequences, even the small ones. They don't use morality to hide from responsibility. They use awareness to carry it. They know that having a good heart without a sharp mind is like bringing a flower to a knife fight. Beautiful, but pointless. Knowledge itself is neutral. It's a knife. In the hands of a healer, it saves lives. In the hands of a killer, it takes them. In the hands of the fearful, it's locked away and labeled too dangerous. And that is when societies rot not because of evil people, but because frightened people reject powerful ideas that could wake them up. They say, don't question too much, don't rock the boat, don't think that way. It's wrong, it's dangerous, it's immoral. What they really mean is, I'm scared of what happens if this illusion breaks. The world does not collapse because some are willing to be wolves. Wolves have always existed. The world collapses when the so-called good refuse to grow teeth of their own, refuse to study power, refuse to learn how systems work. They call their fear humility, their passivity peace, their helplessness acceptance. Meanwhile, those who understand the rules quietly rearrange the board. Society is a two-layer game. On the surface, you see the stage: kindness, fairness, solidarity, community. Underneath, you find the engine: incentives, leverage, psychology, hunger. The weak build moral walls to protect themselves. The strong use those same walls as fences to keep the weak inside. One side believes morality will save them. The other side uses morality to manage them. Both sides play their role so well that the game keeps running for generations. You can see this every time there is a scandal. Social media explodes with outrage. People scream about justice, punishment, cancel them, destroy them, but look closer. Most of the loudest voices are powerless in real life. They cannot change laws. They cannot shift systems. They can only throw words. So they use moral anger as a way to feel powerful for a few days. They say they want justice, but often what they really want is to taste blood without getting their hands dirty, spiritual hunting under the name of righteousness. Above that storm, the powerful stay calm. They release statements, talk about values and lessons learned, maybe sacrifice one person as a symbol, then go back to business as usual. They teach the crowd how to behave, but bend the rules whenever it benefits them. In theory, morality is the foundation. In practice, rewards go to whoever knows how to bend morality without being caught. A quiet student who refuses to cheat gets pushed aside because they don't have the right connections. A loyal employee who works hard in silence is invisible next to someone who flatters the boss. The world applauds good people in speeches, but hands real influence to those who understand strategy. That's the uncomfortable rule. Society smiles at virtue but obeys competence. And once you see that, you have a choice. You can stay angry at how unfair it feels, or you can start learning the game. The truth is, there is no absolute winner in this system. The strong can be replaced when the weak finally wake up. But here's the tragic part. When the weak gain power, they often copy the same tricks that once trapped them. The oppressed become the new oppressors, dressed in fresh language. That's why history feels like a broken record, new faces, same pattern. Revolutions promise justice, then slowly grow their own elite. Because under all the speeches about goodness, humans are still pulled by the same instinct: eat or be eaten. So what's the way out? It's not to run from the game. You cannot stop participating. You cannot stop consuming. You cannot live without affecting others. The way out is upward, not outward. It's to become conscious inside the game, to know when you're being fed and when you're being fed on, to stop pretending you're harmless and instead choose to be responsible with the harm you inevitably cause just by existing. In the modern hunt, teeth are replaced by stories, algorithms, and brands. The clever don't say, "Give me your life." They say, "Here's a promise, here's a lifestyle. Here's who you'll become if you stay with us." The naive don't realize that every dream sold to them is also a contract on their time and attention. Every extra hour spent scrolling, every impulse purchase, every empty promise believed, that's energy handed over to systems designed to grow by consuming you. You don't need to hate those systems to beat them. Hatred still ties you to them. You need to understand them. Study how they appeal to your fear, your loneliness, your desire to belong. Study how outrage keeps you hooked. Study how morality is used as a marketing tool. Once you see the strings, the puppet show loses its magic. The solution is not to become a saint or a monster. is to become awake, to eat with awareness, to consume with intention, to work with clear eyes, to love with boundaries, to give without turning yourself into a sacrifice. Learn not to dominate others, but to defend your mind and your time. True power is not in making others kneel. True power is in not collapsing when the world refuses to be fair. Don't romanticize weakness. Don't glorify suffering. Pain is a teacher, not an identity. If you keep saying, "I'm weak, but I'm good," you'll unconsciously seek situations that confirm that story. You'll tolerate disrespect because it fits the role you've chosen. You'll reject opportunities because power feels dirty to you. But power itself is not evil. A sword can protect or destroy. The problem is never the metal, it's the hand holding it. Morality alone cannot save someone who refuses to grow. A starving person cannot preach themselves full. A terrified person cannot talk their way into freedom while still clinging to fear. For morality to have weight, it must stand on the legs of energy, skill, and understanding. The world has never truly belonged to the blindly gentle. It belongs, and has always belonged, to those who wake up, to those who can hold a blade in one hand and their conscience in the other, and not let either one own them completely. So don't throw away morality. Just stop worshiping it blindly. Use it as a compass, not as a cage. Know when to be soft and when to be firm, when to yield and when to draw a line. Don't dream of some perfect heaven where everything is fair. That dream itself is a tool to keep you passive. Instead, learn to walk through the dark with your eyes open. Once you understand this game, you stop cursing the world for being unfair. The world is not on your side. It's not against you either. It's indifferent to the weak and honest with the awake. The weak live on promises. The awake live on clarity. The weak wait for a savior. The awake become the protector of their own life. In a world where everyone is eating and afraid of being eaten, the goal is not to escape the food chain, but to rise above blind instinct. To be strong enough to survive and clear enough not to turn into a mindless predator. That thin line, that balance between power and conscience is where real humanity begins. And that is where the Hidden Podcast invites you to stand. Not as a victim, not as a beast, but as someone finally, brutally awake.